So, hello and welcome to the Talk Tech podcast. Today, I'm joined with Dylan and Mike from Polybius. How are you guys?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Yeah, it's great. Great to be here.
Cool. So, we're coming to the end of lockdown. How has lockdown affected you as a band?
Well, we've had a lot of gigs postponed. Probably the most gutting of that was we're supposed to play the Cavern Club in March in a Battle of the Bands final, but obviously the right decision was made and it was cancelled. And it's been tough as well because we're from all over the country, so as soon as lockdown was called, we went our separate ways. Me and Dylan, we did a few live gigs on Facebook at the very start, but then the rent ran out of our house, so we had to come home.
So, I mean, like you just said, you've been doing some events on Facebook and stuff. Have any of your gigs been rescheduled? Or you got anything in the pipeline coming up?
I think it's all so precarious. Like they're like, "Oh yeah, we will do it," but it's been delayed, and so though we trust them, I'm sure they will happen. You know, like it's just a case of when one places are open, when they allow gigs, and what the capacity can be in some of the, because a lot of these places here in Liverpool that we play are quite small, and like that's kind of the vibe you're after. Like you want to fill a room and have a good time, but if say you're only allowed 20 people in, you can't really have a gig, can you?
No, definitely not. I mean, talking of gigs, what's been your favourite gig you've done to date?
Oh, I think for me it was definitely we played a place called Outpost at the beginning of the year, and it was just everything you want with a gig. Really, everyone played perfectly. The crowd was so receptive, so much so we did an encore, which we've never done before. They wouldn't let us go off stage. Yeah, it was just brilliant. Everything, the support as well was fantastic. Like we had a band called The Effigy who were brilliant. We had the Marigolds who just released a single, dropped a promotion in for them.
Yeah, just a cheap plug.
Yeah, they've just released. They were brilliant. I think it was their first or second gig as well.
I think it was their first.
Their first, yeah. And then our friends as well. They were brilliant. It was just a brilliant night.
Nice. What about yourself, Dylan?
Outpost was kind of a complete package. I still look back at when we played Heebie-Jeebies.
Oh, that was class.
When we released our EP last year, and Dom, our drummer, had just joined, and I think it was the first gig with the four of us, and it went really well, and we worked really hard to put it all together. And it was I had some mates up from Birmingham, and they played, and they were really good. So it was just one of those ones again. I think like the Outpost gig where it was just like a really good night, and I think everyone had a good time, and we had a good amount of people there, and it was just everything worked smoothly and was really, really sound. So
very nice.
I think it's a toss up, even though we were probably better at Outpost.
One of the memories from that was one of our mates, Alice. She's only small, and she was getting involved in one of the mosh pits. And I remember just looking up at one stage, and she just flew. It's brilliant. Cracked me up.
Bloody hell. So, like you said, you're all scattered around the country. So, how did you become the band? How did you all get to know each other?
Through uni, actually. So, there was like a band. There's a band sock. So anyone who plays an instrument just goes through there, and started jamming with a few people, and the only people from that still in the band now are Bish, the guitarist, and I met Dylan through the course, and we saw Queens of the Stone Age together in Manchester.
Very nice, very nice.
On the way back, he was dropping subtle hints that he wanted to join the band. So he's like,
you were saying you needed a guitar player and a singer, and I could do both. So
yeah,
why not?
And then, he came to the next session we had, and It was a no-brainer, really. And then we had another drummer before Dom joined, and he left. And the story about Dom's quite funny as well. So we went to like this. I went to this gig with two of my mates, and I was telling them our drummer's just left, and they were like, "Well, our housemate is a drummer, but you know, we're gonna start a band, so if you see him ever, you can't tell him you need a drummer." So it was just like, all right, I don't think I'm ever gonna bump into him. And literally, I'm told unplanned. We went to this pub, and then he walked in with like all loads of his other mates, and they were the people who brought it up. And he showed me this video of him playing. I think it was an Avenged Sevenfold song, and I was like, "This guy can play the drum pretty well." And then he come to a jam, and we were just like, "You're our new drummer."
So you sniped him in, basically.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
I think it's another classic case of like someone sneaking themselves in also half.
Yeah.
So how long have you actually all been together with the members as they are now?
18 months, I think.
Yeah.
It was like last January.
Nice. So are you back in the studio anytime soon?
Hopefully, when everyone's back. So, I mean, Luis is Portuguese, so he's in Portugal at the moment. So I think he's intending to come back like mid-September, but we're just looking at some studios now just to see which fits well, really.
Yeah, it's the marriage of, you know, if they're open, what sessions they can do, what sessions we can do, price, you know, it's all factored into.
We've got a few songs ready to go as well, just needing to get recorded, which is exciting.
So, what was your most recent release, Who Watches the Watchmen?
Yeah, that was...
I'm right in saying that.
Yeah, that was our latest one, yeah.
Because obviously we featured that in Tunes of the Week. It's actually a great song.
Yeah,
so I'd like to talk about it a bit. What was your process behind it? What are the influences behind the song?
Do you want to say this?
I think with I'll take this one. I think with all of our stuff, that I think because we're all quite different musically, we all really enjoy different styles. So I don't think Luis would be hard pressed for me to say like he really likes kind of bands like Tool and kind of a bit more proggy stuff. Mike's into kind of more what I would just kind of call like rock stuff, like Foo Fighters, bands like that. Dom, the madman that he is, like loves anything with massive drums. So I know he loves glam rock quite a lot, and I think I'm quite thrashy or quite thrash metal, old stuff really is the kind of stuff I'm into. So we all kind of bring different influences to the track, and though the guitar is mostly Luis's invention. I did write all the lyrics, I did all the vocals myself, and again, I think we've all tweaked and played with our pieces on the track quite a lot. So I think it's one of those ones where just the meetings of all of our different tastes plus a really good, I think, solid, more than the foundation. Maybe the song was structured out by Luis, and then we've all kind of brought our little individual elements to it and just made it into an absolute cracker. If I'm honest, I think it always goes down well when we play shows. It's the one we play last. It's the one we've played as encores. I think just that recording of it is absolutely great. Like I really enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, Louis, they've got it spot on. The sound engineer we were working with, he just got us as a band really straight away. Like we knew as soon as we started talking to him that he's the person who can bring the best out of us.
Yeah, because when I listen, you're a bit heavier than a lot of the modern, indie rock and roll bands which are coming out nowadays. So, you're doing something a bit old school, I would actually say. A bit retro, and I like it. It's a breath of fresh air, to be honest. So, Dylan, just to go back to the lyrics, what's your actual process when writing lyrics?
I always go with like an idea or a theme. I think I I like our songs to either be a little bit storytellery, so a little bit of a narrative in there, or to have kind of a message. And I remember at the time I was at uni doing stuff about kind of futures and dystopian futures, and I think we were living, and we still are living, at a time when I think a lot of people in power don't have a lot of accountability. Both here and across Europe and the wider world. And so it's this idea, isn't it, of like the people that are in control, whether it's Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, the police, people like that, can literally do what they want. They have no accountability, and people still vote them in anyway. So it's just that kind of idea of like, who question mark watches the Watchmen, and of course it should be us, but is it that way? And it's just that kind of little bit of kind of critical thought. I think you can kind of work with that idea, work with kind of how long you want the vocals to be, and then you kind of write around a chorus. Usually I do like writing choruses first, because I think it's nice to get them in, and sometimes if your lyrics are a bit too poetry like, it can be a bit tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my favourite bands is Arctic Monkeys, and their recent album, Tranquility Base. Obviously, that's quite poetic, and it's all about a theme. And I love when bands just pick out something, write about it, rather than just a generic love story, or do you know what I mean? And
I love the album.
It's an incredible album. Yeah.
It's probably like one of my favourite Arctic Monkeys out, because they're one of my favourite bands, and I know it got a lot of stick, but I love it. I just love how different it's been. It's brilliant.
I mean, you can't criticise a band for trying to change, trying to do something
Exactly.
different and be inventive and creative. I don't know. I mean, I have quite a lot of issues with people about it.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, they're not gonna, like, the first few albums, they were right for the age they were then, but they can't still really think about stuff and write about stuff.
Can't writing about shagging beds in nightclubs
Exactly.
when you're in your mid-30s.
You're running from the police, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you've got quite a good take on who watches the Watchmen there. I find it quite fascinating. So like, what you were trying to say is, like, we should be the people observing and telling the people at the top what they should be doing. Is that essentially it?
Yeah, and often people don't, even, like, look at our popular news media, where I won't name names, and like, they literally, like, people could, people in power could be doing anything, and like, the Rupert Murdochs of the world would clap them along as they did it, and people don't hold people to account, and like, it's just, I think sometimes you can get a bit dour about it, but I'm also very angry about it, and I think people should be more angry about it, and that's why I think at times it's quite a mellow song at times, but I think it's got quite an angry kind of chorus, and I really like performing it. It's really good fun.
So
It's an angry song.
you're saying that we should be, doing something about it. And there have been people doing things in the Black Lives Matter protests. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? What are you made of that?
I've been following BLM for a few years. I think since Ferguson that was the first big march a few years ago. Of course, years ago now. I think that was probably 5-6 years ago. So it's one of those issues where, thankfully, because of social media, because of community organising, because of activism, it's becoming more and more prevalent. More and more people are thinking about it. And of course, I think what we saw this summer, crossed over with the lockdown, was just this outpouring of anger and 100% support for it. It's absolutely brilliant in my perspective.
Me too.
It's a good example of how, because of the age we live in, the age of the internet and technology and increased communication, fortunately we don't have to use these traditional methods of bringing people together to support something. And I think of course, there's the downsides. all big protest movements do. But again, you've got to support the message. You've got to support the aims as well. And, great, go for it. More protests, the better, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree completely. I feel like it was like a perfect storm. It was like you had people, you had the coronavirus, obviously. We have that. And then you have this horrific event. And it's finally made people who've probably never thought of it before think about it, which is vital for any movement, really. And they've come together to create, hopefully will bring about change, a much needed change. It's been there forever, and I mean, I think this is the time that people are sick of it and not taking it anymore. Like, I know my mum, for example, where she works, they've had a lot of like meetings about it and online videos, just getting people to think who wouldn't necessarily normally. And yeah, it's brilliant.
Definitely, it's important that people are finally doing something, trying to protest for change, because so many times, an incident like this has happened in the past and it just gets brushed over. In America, the police cover it up and it's just hidden away from the public eye. So it's thankfully this is now in the public domain. I mean, obviously football has been a massive part of that in taking the knee. And I know some some fans have criticised it, and I think it was Burnley, wasn't it, who flew the plane over with All Lives Matter, and just some idiots out there. But protests are the way forward. My dad was involved in protests for mines in Thatcher's era, and it's I mean, obviously living in Liverpool, you have quite a big opinion on Thatcher, but protests do cause change, and hopefully we will see some change in the future, or well, sooner rather than later.
Sooner, hopefully, yeah. Like you say, my dad's a union man as well. I know all about them. As a home care in Birmingham.
It's all about just, I think communication and connecting with people who want similar change, and then working together to make it happen. You can't do anything on your own, and I think even though often we feel quite isolated, especially with the current kind of closures and lockdowns, elements of modern life kind of mean we're more connected than ever, and I think that's something that's quite important to remember.
Yeah, an important way you can bring about change as well is through music, and obviously that's what you're trying to do with your messages. And I'm gonna go just what are you telling? This is back into the music. Where do you see the band in 10 years? Do you see yourselves making an impact with your message in society? Do you want to be playing stadiums? What do you want to get out of the band?
That's my dream. Like, I mean, and it's gonna sound very cheesy, but I mean, I just enjoy playing to people. So as long as we're still doing that, whether it be 30, 40 or thousands, which obviously I hope it is, but I just enjoy playing music to people, and I enjoy the reaction that we get. I enjoy people, like knowing people enjoy your music. There's something special about that, and just hope we continue doing that. And I mean, I guess the main aim over the next few years, building up to that, is playing outside of Liverpool, because we haven't actually had a gig outside of Liverpool for various reasons, mainly to do with studying, and now all four of us have graduated. Hopefully we get to play around the country.
I mean, there's plenty of venues out there. There are plenty of venues. I mean, just in Manchester alone, there are hundreds where you'd be welcome.
Yeah, hopefully we've been speaking to a few promoters around the place. So hopefully, like, I mean, we'd literally just joined the booking agency as well. So hopefully something comes of that.
It's just a case of getting your foot in the door, I think, in a lot of places. Like, ever since we've played Heavies last year, we've so many places being like, oh, hey, do you want to come play this gig here in Liverpool? And that's often how it is. We often get approached now to play a lot of our gigs,
Mhm.
which I think is quite cool. And we just need to get a foothold in Manchester, maybe get a foothold in Birmingham, and just again like set up that network. Because I think, you know, to toot our own trumpet a little bit, I think we're really fun live. Like I think it's our strongest element as a band. We all really
Definitely.
enjoy gigging, and I think often people that come and see bands kind of enjoy that energy of just the band really enjoying what they're doing, and we're a good time. I think that's fundamental.
Birmingham's definitely somewhere I want to gig. I mean, I've seen like the success of bands from the Midlands recently, like the Claws and Candid, and just want to do what they're doing. Really, like seeing the Claws take off, signed by Universal, it's really given me like a lot of confidence, really, that it can happen. Because I feel like there's like the local gigs, and then there's the bigger gigs, and there's sort of like there's no in between. But now I've seen the Claws go from the local to the big time now, really. So getting played the other day on BT Sport, I feel like it's definitely achievable.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, I used to think, you know, Manchester, the northern cities, are the heart and soul of the upcoming music scene. And recently, you know, when we've started the podcast, and nearly all of our guests are Midlands from around that
it's
area,
really good at the minute.
and Scotland. It's like,
Yeah.
I never really thought of these places. Obviously, Jerry Cinnamon in Scotland has been like a main catalyst for a lot of those bands.
Yeah, he's class as well. Big fan of his second
the
album.
Midlands. Hey, historically, so many huge bands come from the Midlands, like huge genres. Even, you know, there's a very firm argument that can be made that metal is
Yeah.
an invention of Birmingham. You know, bands like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, and so I'm not surprised. It's such a huge area, and it's such a diverse area as well. There's like so much music comes out of it. It's brilliant.
It's not a disservice to Liverpool at the minute with Red Rum Club as well. They're doing brilliantly. Zuzu, there's a lot good coming from Liverpool as well. Hopefully we can get to that level soon.
I'm sure you can. So, what is like in the near future in regards of singles, album? Is anything going to be released?
Probably singles. A few singles coming up. As I said earlier, like we've got a lot of material that's ready to hit the studio. I mean, we recorded EP about 18 months ago, coming up to 2 years now. It's when we actually recorded it. But it wasn't really the best. I don't think we didn't really show how good we are.
Well, we were a different band. We had a different drummer. We were only really been together maybe 6-7 months. It was basically our core kind of 4 songs. You know, and it was done quite cheaply, very quickly. I mean, that's the thing. We recorded 4 songs in like 10-12 hours, which is,
and
yeah, which
like
was
the Watchmen,
which was a shorter amount of time
hours.
we spent on, which was a short amount of time we spent on Watchmen. So like, you know, and like I had like the world's worst head cold at the time. Like I could barely speak for large chunks of it. So it was what it was, and it was important, I think, for us at the time to get those examples, because we didn't really have a lot of stuff to give to people to show us who we were. And I think now we've got a lot more gig footage, and we've got Watchmen recorded to a really good quality. It's just a different, you know, we're at a different stage as a band.
And also, we didn't really know how to promote. Like with Watchmen, like we've been sending it off to people like yourselves and loads of blogs and different things, and we're like a rabbit in headlights before we just released it and thought that'd make us massive, but obviously didn't think about all of the promotion that goes into releasing a single.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time to be a band. You know, we're coming out of lockdown. When gigs restart, people's thirst and hunger to be going to see all these upcoming bands is going to be through the roof.
Can't wait. I really
It's
can't
going to be
wait.
incredible. And like you said, if you're going to be branching out into all these new cities, I'm sure you're going to quickly develop a good fan base.
Hopefully.
Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us on.
Thanks, man. It's been great. Good to talk.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. So when you have some new material, please send it over. We'd love to promote it for you.
Oh, we will. Don't you worry about that.
Amazing stuff.
We'd love to be back on.
Yeah, definitely.
Honestly, well, if you do play some of these local venues in Manchester, Liverpool, we'll try and get down maybe a face-to-face interview. Because
that'd be brilliant.
When all is said, that's what we're going to be branching out into, and would love to have you on board.
We're totally up for that. Anytime.
Great stuff. So you can find all the band's links in the bio below. You can find us also. If you would like to feature on the blog, drop us an email, and thank you for watching. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.